Leroy is Idaho's former Attorney General. Brian Claypool is a criminal defense attorney. Great to have both of you here. David, I want to start with you on what Brian just said. Could Bryan Kohberger technically appeal even if he's signing away his right to appeal in this plea deal?
Well, yes, it's true. It's not likely that that would be successful, but every defendant has the right under our Constitution to still complain after all appeals are exhausted that, for instance, his attorneys were incompetent and because of that lack of effective assistance of counsel, there's a theoretical right to appeal. I would not expect that likely to be made in this case, but even if made, it will not be successful.
And then, David, one other question to you, because as former Attorney General in Idaho, I'm curious what your take is on this. Kaylee Gonzalez's father, Kaylee Gonzalez, of course, is one of the four students who was murdered. Her father says that Kohberger should have to explain why he did this. He got backup from President Trump, who posted that Kohberger should be required to give a motive in order to get this deal. But can a judge force Kohberger to say this?
No, the judge really cannot force a defendant to articulate in a sentencing hearing. It's very common and almost the rule that a defendant is offered the opportunity to speak, but no one can force a defendant to speak, including the judge in this context. I was hopeful that the written statement that was contemporaneously signed and filed with his change of plea would contain more details, but unfortunately, that too was just a list essentially of the elements of the crime and a written admission technically to those elements. We do need an explanation. It would be nice.
Yeah, Brian, you're a defense attorney. I'm curious, can the judge ask Bryan Kohberger a series of questions if he doesn't give a statement, like direct pointed questions that would at least give these families some of the answers they need and deserve?
Yeah, hey, Elizabeth, always great to be with you. So at the sentencing, there's going to be what's called a right of allocution. That's under Rule 33 in Idaho. What does that mean? That Kohberger can get up, address the judge, and the judge can ask him about whether he wants to talk to the court, whether he wants to say why he did this. And the judge can ask him, but I can assure you, because Kohberger is a psychopath, because he's a narcissist, I don't think we're going to get any answers from him tomorrow on why he did this. And that begs the next question. Why didn't prosecutors try to weave this into the plea deal? In other words, say, look, we'll cop a plea deal with you, which I don't think was the right thing to do, but at least get an assurance from Kohberger that he's going to tell the court and these families why he did it as part of the plea deal. That never happened, and I don't think he's going to get up there and say anything about it.
Why do you think this was a mistake to do this plea deal?
Well, look, I'm a father. Take off my lawyering hat, Elizabeth. I'm a single father of a 19-year-old girl who's a freshman at a local university. And I will tell you, if that was my daughter that got slaughtered by this punk, I would fight for the death penalty till the cows come home. I'm telling you, I would have wanted to be notified by the prosecutor before they went ahead and did this really fast. Remember, at the plea deal, the judge was like apologizing to the family about how fast this is happening. But look, you had a mountain of evidence against this guy. You had the leather sheath that had his DNA on it, on the knife that's on the bed. You've got a victim that survived, that identified him, his eyebrows, his height that matched. You've got the video showing his car going back and forth. You've got video of him in a store buying things that he used to commit the crime. If we have a death penalty in the United States, this was the case where it should have been used. This guy, Brian Enton, talked about it. Kohberger's going to be allowed to watch TV. Right. Kohberger might be getting married in jail. None of these four young people who died will ever get to be married. This guy should have been buried 6 feet under. So I think this was a travesty of justice.
David, I'm curious. You've a lot of experience in courtrooms. Tomorrow is going to be a very emotional day. All these families, parents, siblings, sisters, brothers, are going to be giving victim impact statements. Is when the father of Kaylee Gonzalez says, "I want Bryan Kohberger to know not just my grief, but my fury at what he has done."
Yes, I'd fully expect these victim families and those who articulate on behalf of them to speak directly to Kohberger and to have the kinds of emotions the counsel just articulated. But with all due respect, this is not a travesty of justice. This is an entirely explicable and defensible result in this case, though the horrible facts of this case do indeed justify the death penalty. But the prosecutors made appropriate decisions here. There was one possible set of circumstances, one possible set of pleas that could make this thing happen, and the maximum to all four, plus 10 for the burglary, no possibility of parole, no possibility of diminution of sentence appeals. It's not a travesty of justice with respect to counsel.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.